Hey folks, ET here coming at you with the week ahead. Today we are covering Uber, Airbnb, and Meta. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and label this one things I'm short that maybe I shouldn't be, but we will find out how the week goes. Let's start with Uber. At the end of the session with 2 minutes left on Friday, I did get some puts, some 40.5s, and we'll see how that goes as the week goes on. Looking at its flow, not a whole lot going on there that's helpful to the long side. Its net flow going out is a little bearish. So this is one of the reasons that I took it. I saw some puts coming up here on the premiums, and so I kind of just went in, and I also did take obviously a quick look at all of its stuff here. So let's go ahead and go with this dealer Greeks build up. It is showing a net short. So it doesn't have the best winning percentage of all, but if you know me, I love to short Uber, win or lose. Sometimes I do lose, my 20% stop hits, but we'll see how next week goes as it rolls along. So looking at its dealer Greek build up here, it is showing some downside potential, so we'll see how that plays out. Going into Monday, it's showing kind of a mixed day, but slightly more bearish. Okay, going into Tuesday, kind of the same thing, a little bit more mixed. Just kind of maybe a round trip day, and the bars are pretty even across the board. Wednesday, substantially more bearish, which is good for my puts unless it has a massive uptrend. Thursday, obviously, way more bearish, and then Friday, still quite bearish. So hopefully my position plans out. If we go out to the 10-day, pretty good chances of some downside there as we go in. It was a little bullish going into yesterday, which it had a pretty good run up, so that's pretty interesting to see. It did follow through on that, even though it was just a slightly bullish position. As far as next week's expiry, another reason that I took a look at it is that this is a pretty bearish position by the dealer OI, so we will see if that starts to pan out the way that I want it to. Grabbing its expiry filter is a little different. It actually shows its biggest pull at 42.5, and 42 being sort of its repel spot if possible. So if it gets up to 42, then obviously then it's gone a little bit. It's gone up a full $1 above my entry, so my stop would obviously hit there. So going into that to next week's expiry on Friday, it is showing a slightly bull position here as a pull, but these do change, so just make sure to always take a look. As far as price for Gex and Vex profile, where it is supported, well, it's mainly supported at 38.3, which is a couple bucks away from what my put position is. So if it does decide to hit back down there, that would be pretty fantastic. All right, so that is the Uber data. Let's go ahead and take a look at its chart. Not a whole lot of gamma from the pull from the trading pull into TV above, but we do know we have a repel at 42. Or a repel at 41, and a large pull here at 42. As far as levels go, it is above this gamma here, this 40.50, and it's got a couple of tiny ghost zones, one down to 40. This is the one that I'm hoping that hits. I'm hoping the price gets below and repels from here, and then comes down to this 39, which would be about 100% on the puts. If it continues to roll downside, obviously there's a lot of room down, and it does tend to get there a little bit, but it likes this 39 level a lot, so that would be a spot that I would actually scale my position. Massive ghost zones going down for this, all the way down to 35, and then 32.50 is the one. I doubt it goes that much down in 1 week, but that would be pretty spectacular. I have trailing stops on my stuff, so and I'm even on it from the day, so unless it gaps up majorly on Monday, it won't hit my 20% stop loss immediately, and I can revisit that position as we go. So that is Uber for us. Let's go ahead and jump into Airbnb next. Give it a sec to load. There we go. So Airbnb is a little bit different. This one is one that I just like to short when it hits 121. Basically, I have made a religion out of just setting price alerts for Airbnb. I set it about 120.50, and I see where it goes. A couple of times I got bit when it jumped up to that 128 that one day real quick, which I then shorted again. So this is my general spot, one of my favorite tickers to trade. I entered yesterday almost at the high of the day. I think I was 80 cents off, and I got some 117 puts that I'm mostly out of. I have about half of my position left, just rolling into next week. It did get a little bit of a curl on its MNF at the end of the day, and its 5-day, as you can see there, it did start to get a little bit of a curl, so it might bounce back up, but a majority of my position I have exited, and the rest are just free, so whatever happens to them just sort of happens to them. Going into its back test, it is a long currently according to its back test, so I just shorted it based on price action that I follow. It doesn't have the best returns across the board here, so I kind of ignored this one a little bit as it doesn't give the best returns. I just shorted it based on the price action that I watch, and we will see here, as you can see, its dealer OI is still showing a little bit bullish, which is against my position, but like I said, I'm just left down to runners there. So we'll see how they go. Going into the next few days, going through the week, you can see price distro is kind of mixed, slightly bearish early week, and then it gets into more of a mixed thing of slightly bearish, slightly bullish. So round trip days, lots of things there, and then Friday is showing excuse me, a little bit more of a run-up. So that is interesting to see on Airbnb. Like I said, I just timed that one perfectly because I trade it all of the time. So I'm interested to see how the rest of the week plays out on it, and if my runners give me more or if they just end up getting stopped out. All right, let's go ahead and see what it looks like going into next week. Its current biggest pull is 120, and as you can see here, 125 is a little bit of a repel, and 117, which is where I bought my puts. I keep an eye on these things when I'm planning my trades. I come look at these things to see where we're going. Its biggest pull is still 120, so getting back up to 120 is still technically below my entry, which is fine with me. And then 119 is kind of where we went, and then on Friday we got a little bit. We got down to about 118, a little bit below. We never hit the 117, which was my target. So next biggest negative pull will be 109, which would really be fantastic for the puts, so we'll have to see how that one plays out, obviously, as well. So this one's got a pretty good range, really from 117 to 125 is really where I would play it. If you are playing it throughout the week, that's what I'm looking for, is this range. If it gets back up to 125, I am definitely going to enter shorts again, unless market sentiment is insanely bullish. Then I might pull back a little bit and just wait to see how it goes. As far as price goes, interesting to see that this 109 area is our second biggest pull, second biggest negative pull, and price is supported most around 109. So another reason that I took a look at it and I played it is, like I said, I look through these things and I plan my trades out by checking these and seeing where all of the price action could be supported. Now, obviously, nothing is 100%, and tools can change and data can change, and I can be wrong, and that's why I use my stops. Okay, going into the Airbnb ticker, let's go ahead and look at its levels. It is pretty muddy throughout here. Lots of gamma kind of keeping it in place. 116 would obviously be in this ghost zone, the target that I would like to exit my puts. So I'd like to see it come down here, pull to this, and maybe get to this 115 if it blows through, and maybe repel from there. That would be my ultimate play, which would mean that I would catch, you know, a pretty good $4 to $5 move on the way down, which would be interesting to see. Pretty muddy going up. It does have room up to this 127 and this 130, and obviously there is some gamma all the way up to 135. So an insanely bullish week. Excuse me, my goodness. If it happens to hit that 135, I will recheck data and I will go probably short again unless market sentiment is insanely bullish going into other things. Ultimately, there's some larger ghost zones going down. Let me get rid of this. That's an old level. There's some larger ghost zones going down, but really it'd be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to get that low unless CPI and PPI and FOMO-C do some crazy stuff. So anyways, that's my trade plan for ABNB. Let's go ahead and jump into Meta. Now, Meta on Friday, I made the mistake of shorting it, and I got a very good entry. I really did, and I shorted it well, and it went green, and I didn't take profit, and then I got stopped out. So it is showing on its deltas that it is a short currently. This is one of the things that I was looking at. I timed my trade well, which is pretty interesting, but I still didn't take the profit when I should have. Just looking through its OI, it's kind of a mixed one. There's still some heavy calls here at 250 being held, but a lot of people have been selling some things. Let's take a look at its 5-day MNF real quick before we scroll down and look at everything else. Still slightly bullish, It hasn't quite changed yet, so that's one. I did go against this on my trade. So I'm looking for another entry, and if it gaps down on Monday, I will be super salty, because I indeed did have some shorts, and I should have just taken my profit. And this is another thing I was looking at here. Is dealer OI going into next week supports the deltas, okay, supports this back test. Its dealer OI is saying that it's a bearish position. And Monday it's showing sort of a mixed day, more bearish than bullish, but maybe a round trip day. Going into Tuesday, more bearish. Wednesday, more bearish again. Thursday, bearish again with some slight bull movement there. And then Friday, still more bearish than bullish. So these are all the things that I put together. I was in the 260 put. And so if it gets below that next week, I'll be salty, but I will know next time to take profits early and then re-enter my position. Sometimes those things just play out that way. You're not always going to have the plan perfectly, and I didn't set my trail on it on Friday, as I wasn't paying attention and I had a week to go on it, so I wasn't too concerned. Anyways, small loss, moving along. Here we go. Going into next week's expiry filter. It's 260 is its biggest pull, which is another reason why I went with the 260 put. And it's 275, which is where price tends to kind of push back from and repel from these past few days, these past few sessions, is its biggest repel price. So that's another reason why I went that way. 275 obviously is the ultimate entry. Remember, these things can change, so check them throughout the day and the week to make sure that if you're swinging anything, and I'm primarily a swing trader, so these things are very helpful to me. I like to plan all these out and just kind of go with the flow, and I set my price targets sort of. If I want to short at the I want to set my price target at a high where it might repel, and if I'm going long, I might want to set my price target at a low where it might repel the other direction. All right, keeping in mind where its biggest pull is, and sometimes I like to go sort of in between with my contracts there. So if it hits 275, I could hit a 265 put maybe a week or two out just to check to see. I don't want to go at the very bottom of the range in case these things change, even though I did yesterday. Checking out its GEX and VEX profile, what do you know? About 259, 260 is where it has the most price support, since that's where my puts were. That's pretty interesting to see. This was another thing that I was looking at when I was planning out my trade. It only takes a few minutes of your time, folks. You go through here, you take a look at its net flow, you see if there's any crazy OI on its dashboard. Maybe just go through and take a look. You can check its live flow as well if you want to. If you want to look for anything that might be a bullish or bearish position. But this is how I start to plan out my trades, using all of these things as we go along. And I just search through each ticker that I like to trade. Sometimes I use Flash. I'll go through and I'll say, oh, hey, what's in Flash? And I'll kind of use these divs that pop up. Let's see if it'll load for me there. I'll kind of use these divs that pop up sometimes as a thing to start doing a little bit of research on things. But for the most part, I trade pretty much the same 10 to 20 tickers, and I don't really mess with much else outside of that. Obviously, SPY being one of them as well, and QQQ, but I try to keep to the same thing. So I like to look through these divs. I don't pay attention necessarily too much as the color, is just how many times I'm kind of seeing something pop up in the divs, and then I start to go take a little bit of a look. So that is Meta for its data. Let's go ahead and take a look at its chart. It is quite messy going around here. It has an awful lot of gamma going around, and right here it's just, you can see everything is kind of a pull, with 260 being our biggest, and our biggest repel down here kind of at 240 from the tradie TV thing. Ultimately, I'd love to see it come back up again. That would be spectacular, to the 272, 275 for another swing short if market sentiment changes and it decides to head that direction. So that's what I'm looking at for Meta for the week. Obviously, there's some pretty big ghost zones going down here, but it's going to take a bit of a market direction change and get out of this. We'd have to get out of this somewhat bullish market we're seeing right now for that to happen. Those are the tickers that I am watching for the week. Those are my main focuses for right now. Everybody have a good week. Stay safe out there and go get that Oprah money.